Resuming debate, the honourable member for Kitchener South Hespeler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to take a moment and just say thanks to all the Olympic athletes and Paralympic athletes that were here today. It was quite an honor to see that. The whole House was, I think, for 15 minutes, was just kept applauding, and it's great to for them to represent us in Rio the way they did. And I want to give a special shout out to Olympic boxer Mandy Bujold and Special Olympic swimmer Alec Elliot, who live in my riding of Kitchener South Hespeler. Mr. Speaker, during last year's election campaign, I spoke confidently to the residents of my riding of Kitchener South Hespeler about our plan to grow the middle class and revitalize the Canadian economy by doing three things. First, I talked about our plan to reduce income taxes on the middle class and those aspiring to join the middle class. Lowering taxes means leaving more money in the pockets of those who need it the most. Having more money to spend on goods and services in our economy. Second, I explained our plans to implement a tax-free, means-tested Canada Child Benefit to replace the patchwork of existing programs. The Canada Child Benefit will assist families with high costs of raising their children. Third, I talked about our plans to borrow at a current historically low interest rates to make a very large investments, both physical and social infrastructure. As I spoke to the people, I stressed that these programs would not only help individual families who were struggling after years of stagnant growth, but also these programs will grow our economy, generate economic activity, and create jobs by way of what economists call the multiplier effect. As I spoke with people at the door, I did so with confidence because I believe that our plan offered immediate help to those who needed it the most and set an ambitious long-term approach for growth by strengthening the heart of Canada's consumer-driven economy, the middle class. Because a strong economy starts with a strong middle class. When middle-class Canadians have more money to save, invest, and grow the economy, everyone benefits. A strengthened middle class means that hard-working Canadians can look forward to a good standard of living and better prospects for their children. When you have an economy that works for the middle class, you have a country that works for everyone. Judging from the reaction I got from people throughout my riding, the message I was delivering resonated with voters. The results of the election speak for themselves. Our message of hope caused voters across the country to raise us from a distant third place in the House to forming a majority government. On election night, Canadians saw the merit in our plan, and Canadians chose a plan to invest in our future and for generations to come. Our plan increased again when legislation to reduce personal income tax rates, as promised, was introduced by this government last December as the second piece of legislation proposed in Bill C-2. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister of Finance tabled the government's budget in Parliament on March 22nd of this year. A budget is more than a mere forecast of expenditures and revenues. A budget is a financial strategy to fulfill what a government sets as its mission. A budget is a comprehensive plan of action designed to achieve the policy objectives of government. A budget is a financial blueprint for action. A budget will remain only a blueprint unless there are workers, materials, coordination, skills, and activity necessary to construct it. Real change will remain only a vision unless there is legislation to implement the budget which flows from that vision. Following quickly on the heels of Budget Bill C-15 was the first legislation introduced by the government in April. It was the first budget implementation bill. It turned the second major promise that I made to the constituents of Kitchener South Hespeler as I went door to door during the election. It turned that promise into a reality. Bill C-15 brought in the Canada Child Benefit. Simpler, tax-free, and more generous the Canada Child Benefit, replacing existing child benefits. That bill, C-15, passed quickly through this House and the Senate and received royal assent in the third week of June. Immediately afterwards, in July, the Canada Child Benefit payments started flowing to families fulfill their financial responsibility in raising the next generation of Canadians. The Canada Child Benefit is a social program of unprecedented generosity. Since July 1st of this year, families can receive up to $6,400 per year for each child under 6, and $5,400 for each child aged 6 to 17. 9 out of 10 families are better off. They are receiving higher monthly benefits, and hundreds of thousands of children will be raised out of poverty, Mr. Speaker. This government has taken a long-term approach to helping families which will be able to count on extra help now and for years to come. When Canadians look towards the future and think about planning, they know that the Canada Child Benefit will be there to help fulfill their financial responsibilities. And today, before the House, is Bill C-29. It is the second of 2 pieces of legislation intended to implement the budget tabled in the House in March. C-29 is the second act to implement this year's budget. It contains a number of necessary consequential housekeeping amendments to various acts, such as the Employment Insurance Act, the Canada Education Savings Act, and the Canada Disability Act, by replacing references to child benefit. However, for most of Canadian families, the most important part of Bill C-29 is the introduction, as promised, of indexation for the Canada Child Benefit. Bill C-29 implements the budget by indexing to inflation the maximum benefit amounts and the phase-out threshold under the Canada Child Benefit, beginning in 2021 benefit year. That means that the benefits will increase if prices increase, and thus the purchasing power of the benefit will remain the same following 2020. Mr. Speaker, I just want to turn to just a couple articles here. The first one is from The Economist, and I want to say a quote here. Canada is in a better position than almost any other rich country to take advantage of low rates. So, Mr. Speaker, with the historical low interest rates, this is the time to invest in Canadians. This is the time to invest in our future and to invest in the young generation, to take advantage of these low interest rates. And the second article I want to refer to is an article in the CBC. The head of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, said economic growth has been too slow for too long, and the IMF advocates 3-pronged approach for governments trying to kickstart the global economy. She said the Liberal government is following the approach with monetary, financial, and structural reforms that will mobilize the resources of the state to increase growth. Mr. Speaker, for those reasons, I would therefore encourage all the members of this House to support Bill C-29. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions